Life Beyond Labels is a Quiet Loud Studios production, proudly featured on Sports E Media. Discover more at quietloudstudios.com. Background music created by Yo Crane. Hello, and welcome back to the Life Beyond Labels podcast. You have no idea how excited I am. We have a really special guest with us today, Sydney Staples, who is a longtime friend of mine. But I'll tell you a little bit about Sydney before we welcome her in. Sydney is a former Division I soccer player from Lehigh University. She is a graduate from the Newhouse School of Communications at Syracuse and has built an insanely impressive career as a reporter in sports with D210, Sports Dissected. She has covered everywhere from the Cowboys training camp to facilities all over the country. She is now working for Big 12 Studios. But beyond a lot of those amazing accomplishments, I can't wait for you all to get to know who Sydney is as a person and a little bit more about her story and her heart and who she is beyond all those incredible labels. So, Sydney, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, my mouth hurts from cheesing. That was such a nice intro.
It's so cool to introduce all your cool things, and then I'm excited to tell people about you. But I'm so happy that you're here. Okay, Sid, I know that you kind of know the premise already, but if you were to explain yourself to all the wonderful people listening who don't know you, beyond some of the things that I just shared, how would you introduce yourself if you were talking about your attitude, how you treat other people, what makes Sydney Staples unique Sydney Staples?
Ooh, okay. First and foremost, high energy, probably annoying a lot of the time, but I think I come into life, meetings with people, etc., with an eagerness and an excitement all the time. Um, I would like to think that I lead with love in as many ways and as openly as possible to different ideas, different people, different backgrounds, etc. Um, and I don't know, I guess a fun thing, this one, man, do I love talking about this one, okay? And not many people know it, but I am the Wii Mario Kart queen, okay? Toda
Wait, I didn't even know that.
Oh, you just learned something. Yeah, that is my bread and butter. So, the only time I don't know, maybe you're gonna get a more mean side out of me, a more competitive side out of me. Me and my
Wait,
brother
that's
playing that,
amazing.
good luck to anybody.
Okay, wait, I love that. We have to play sometime. I didn't know that was
Good luck
unique
to
to
you,
Sydney
is all I'm
Staples.
gonna say. Good luck.
Um, well, thank you. I would completely agree with that. Obviously, not everybody that comes on the podcast is somebody that I get the privilege to know beforehand. And so if I were to describe you by those three things, I was debating whether or not to do it first or do it after you gave your lovely introduction. But I will tell you all before we get started that Sydney Staples really is one of the most uplifting human beings that you will ever meet. Genuinely, she has such an attitude of being able to do hard things with grace and optimism, and that is really impressive and inspiring. So I'm excited to for other people to know more about how you do that and just the way that you go through life that way. But also, I would say treating other people. The first time I ever met you, I literally felt like you were ready to be best friends so instantly, and it's the most, like, welcoming, sweet feeling in the whole world, just, like, instant friends, so welcoming, and what makes you unique is genuinely you have so much joy for life
Oh,
and just radiate that joy, so I would totally say that you love others, very well, so thank you so much for sharing that with us.
dang, it's the first time that we met, am I remembering this correctly? I think it something around Shrek. Was it at Syracuse in
Oh my gosh. I thought it was Chicago, but you're so right, it was. We were in Syracuse, and
Yep,
we went to it was like a game, like a board game bar,
yep.
and yeah, my brothers, Michael and Brendan, they brought Shrek hats
That's
that they
why I'm
bought that
remembering.
day. I forgot about yeah, they brought the Shrek hats, and then they begged the DJ to play music from Smash Mouth,
Yep.
and yeah, that was the first day that you and I met.
Yep, I think that, that embodies our relationship is just that, Shrek hats, as simple as that. No
Yeah.
context.
No, 100%. I you just unlocked a memory that I totally forgot about.
I'm teaching you a lot of things today already, okay?
Um, So that was I mean, that was while you were at Syracuse,
Yeah.
but I would love for other people to know, can you share a little bit about your time before that or just some of your story with us?
Ooh, okay. How much is before? What's before in your eyes? Like, are we talking wee toddler or older?
That's such a good See, you're a very trained sports reporter, to be specific. I even have them right in front of me, and I still missed the whole chunk of the question I wanted to ask. Tell us about your soccer career a little bit. We'll start in college. I would love to know a little bit about your soccer career and kind of talking about just some of the things that you've done and accomplished outwardly, because I wanna also dive into, like, who you are and staying grounded despite some of those accomplishments and things like that, if that makes sense.
Cool. Well, I guess playing soccer at the Division One level is an accomplishment in and of itself. I It's weird looking back and considering things accomplishments right now because I feel like I'm still so young, and it's like I felt like it's always I expect these things of myself. Achieve as much as possible, perform at the highest level, you name it. Um, so I guess being recruited and going to a Division One school in Lehigh and playing soccer, it wasn't it's hard though to go beyond that in terms of collegiately. Like, I don't have a lot of accolades in the collegiate soccer space just because I honestly didn't play. And it was something that it's still hard to kind of look back on it and conceptualize because in a way I can almost look at it as like a failure. Like, there's so many things that I wanted to do in those 4 years of undergrad and say that I accomplished beyond just making it to the Division One level, but performing in it and exceeding in it. Um, I guess I'd say going to Lehigh was one of the hardest things I've ever done. Those 4 like, I guess I mentioned earlier how much you wanna know about beforehand because, I mean, growing up, it was I excelled in a lot of facets of life. School, I freaking loved. I still love school. I wanna go back to school and figure out something else that I can do. I flourished playing a number of different sports, honed in on soccer ultimately, but it kind of felt like this up and up trajectory for many of my youth years until 18 years old. I'm thinking, "Oh my gosh, what better way to peak than travel, or go to a school that's almost 4 hours away and an entirely new atmosphere with new people," and it wasn't as easy when I got to school, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I feel like you and I have really related to that together about feeling like college career didn't really end up the way that we anticipated. And how do you feel like you took some of the qualities and traits that you built up through athletics that maybe didn't translate into like tangible success on a soccer field, but that you carry into life and you look back and go, wow, I'm actually really proud of that, or I'm actually really proud of that characteristic that I didn't realize that I'd built up in myself and I now use or see.
Wow, that's a great question. I think sports in general teaches you the hard work ethic and the adaptability and teamwork and all those things, especially because I played a team sport. But what my Lehigh collegiate soccer experience taught me specifically, patience, which I still struggle with. I don't have a lot of it. That's one of those life things that I am, as I mentioned earlier, so high energy, and it's just like go, 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 check things off of my life list. But those 4 years give me, I guess, in it, I really have always been a planner. And typically things have gone exactly the way that I've planned it, or ultimately the goal is reached no matter the road, avenue, drive, street that I took to get there. At Lehigh, it was, hey, so you think you have plans? No, you're going to need to go into back alleys. You're going to need to go over mountains, hills, valleys, you name it, to get to where it was. And it's just that I didn't have the patience or the foresight. I didn't have the patience to have the foresight of, wait, slow down. This is college. Like, the academic side of it and even the athletic side of it, like, this is the whole point, is that it's not supposed to go all this merry, happy, whatever, like, I'm supposed to grow here. I you hear the phrase a lot, college was the best 4 years of my life. They weren't the best 4 years of my life. They were years of my life that I needed. It's the best thing that could have happened to me now that I can look back on it and go, "Wow, what I learned from age 18 to 22 is forever gonna carry with me." The patience aspect of it, most importantly, but, yeah, I guess I'm kinda rambling.
No, I appreciate you saying that because I feel like it's interesting. Sometimes I get questions of would you go back? You and I having had similar college just like challenges and same thing of like college not being the best 4 years of your life. And yet for you to share, you gain some perspective on like you're not just gifted patience in life, you're gifted opportunities to be patient, or you're not just gifted strength, you're given opportunities to be strong. So for you to say, like, looking back, it's what you needed, I think those things are super important because you walk away with something that maybe it wasn't the best time of your life, but would you go back and change it knowing that you wouldn't have gotten the patience and the strength and the perspective that you now have? Does it make you appreciate some of your experiences now after the fact, do you feel like?
Absolutely. Because I wanted to change it. My freshman year in college or first year in Lehigh terms, I really struggled to get through the fall, and when I had winter break and went back for the spring semester, I was so miserable, and I was saying calling my family and everyone at the time that would listen, like, "I'm gonna transfer, I need to leave." But then I put myself back on the, "Wait a second, give spring a shot. Try this. I chose Lehigh and committed here for a reason. Who would I be to just dip out when things didn't go the way that I planned it?" So it's that opportunity for patience. It's also the, okay, I could have changed something. And maybe it wasn't the school that I went to thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to transfer. But instead it was, how am I going to approach this? How can I change the mentality that I go into this with? How can I reframe what this experience could be for me? Why I chose to say how did those pros outweigh the cons, etc. And I see this is where I'm almost like I'm very hard-headed in a lot of things that I do in life. Um, and maybe that was a part of it where I was instead of having an opportunity to kind of be more open, it was almost like I dug my heels in the ground and said, "No, I chose to be here for a reason. Snap out of this, dig your heels in even deeper into that trench and, like, stay the course, trust it." Um, I guess, yeah, I love the way that you phrase it about opportunities to be patient, opportunities to have strength, because I think it how do you carry what you learned from one facet of your life into the rest of it? Okay, well, kind of like things like you, like, regret or you're like, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna learn from this experience the next time you're in that scenario. I know how I'm gonna handle that." That's happened many of times since I've graduated.
Yeah. I'm so curious just your thoughts too on what advice do you give? So when people are in that situation of whether or not they wanna leave something or they wanna stay committed to it, I feel like that's such a really hard time to define. Obviously, it's very individualized, like, what your situation is. But I feel like I'm just really curious about what your thought process was through deciding that because I feel like giving up can be 2 different things. It can be giving up on yourself and staying in a bad situation, but it can also be, giving up and leaving really quickly when you committed to something. And so, like, finding the balance of that, what was that thought process for you for deciding that you were going to stay committed to that just individually for you?
Um, in more, like, niche things, did I like campus? Did I like how it felt to be there? Did I like the people that I met outside of my team? Did I like school? I loved school. A major reason that I stayed. I know we're in a new NIL era, and I feel like I'm dating myself because crazy enough, we're in 2026, and it's like, wow, that was now 8 years ago to think about being a first year in college, but, um, I had to take everything else into consideration. I committed to be a student athlete at Lehigh University. So, school, I was really passionate about. Now, did I struggle in my freshman year astronomy class that I thought was gonna be about planets and moons and space, but instead was a lot of, not that and was more math and stressful? Yeah, I struggled, and it made me question
No.
myself academically.
I had a friend once who love her, she took an oceanography class because she loves sharks, and then took it and was like, "This is not about, like, the
Yeah.
sea or anything," and then had to drop it, but it's just I don't know, it just made
Kelsey,
me
I was
think
on
'cause
the
I
wait
guess it's
list.
so hard.
I was on the wait list for this class. I was like, "No, if I'm gonna have that gen ed, whatever you wanna call it, how
Yeah, it
cool would
sounds
this
cool.
be?" I was
Yeah.
wait list for this class. I freaked out when I got it because I went, "Wow, my freshman year, fall, I get all the classes I want? Who gets that?" Thinking I'm lucky girl. No, no. I wish I wouldn't have got on the wait list and but all of
Well,
that to say,
yeah.
when I gave myself the spring semester, I went, "Okay, let's see life outside of being in season with soccer." And I loved it.
Yeah.
The people that I met, I was so lucky with the people that were on my dorm room floor. Um, because minutes weren't involved in our spring training. I didn't have that pressure and that struggle to really think about.
Mhm.
So it was, okay, I love everything else. And soccer has always gone my way one way or another. I've always fought through stuff. So no, stick this out. It was also like to transfer back then was not common.
Yeah, it also wasn't as easy if you did it in
No.
conference, there was a year you had to sit, it was like a whole it was just not as easy as a portal, so very true, but I appreciate you sharing that too, especially, like, the idea of even just zooming out and thinking about the other parts of the decision outside of soccer and the other parts of your life that you did or didn't enjoy while you were there is, like, really important in people that might be deciding whether or not to do that, so I really appreciate you sharing that. Not to pivot too abruptly, but one thing that I didn't wanna forget that you said, and I wanted to go back to it, was at the very beginning, you were talking about how it's really hard right now for you to look back at accomplishments or achievements and even think about them because you expect so much of yourself. And you and I have had some really good conversations about things like this. And I'm so curious your thoughts around now that you're in adult professional life, right? We're in our early 20s. How do you feel like you balance going but you have really big goals as a professional. How do you feel like you balance going after those goals while also enjoying the process and enjoying the present? Because I feel like growing up as an athlete, you learn that you have to sacrifice all your time and social relationships and all of these things in order to actually show that you want it. So how do you balance that right now as a adult?
Ooh. Like that saying like, "Oh, live in the moment. There's no time like the present, and the present is a gift. That's why they call it the present." Like, um, I have I think a lot of it has to do with the industry that I'm in. Number 1, what I get to call work. There was a sign when I covered the Green Bay Packers with your brother, one of the best summers of my entire freaking life. When we got to do that for 5 weeks and you would walk in a Lambeau Field, there was a sign that was like, "Today is somebody's bucket list." Like, this is a moment that people can dream of doing once in their lifetime, and I got to go in there on the daily, and I got to go into spaces and see things that maybe a lot of the normal people wouldn't. So when I think about my current life, it's I have so many goals, and that's to travel the world. Guess who's doing it with the job that I've chosen? Like, and I feel so grateful for that because it gives me the not this stress of I have to accomplish X, Y, and Z. It's I'm literally doing it, taking that step back and going, wow, like every day is something that like younger me would have gone, Oh my god, you got to do that? For example, March Madness, that was a dream of mine to cover because I loved watching it growing up, and I played basketball at one point. Moved to
Yeah.
Dallas. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about some of your experiences doing some of those big coverage things.
Yeah, it was like, younger me set goals for myself, and, for example, one of those cover March Madness, I did that within 2 months of moving to Dallas, and it was like, "Get me that credential, I'm in a place that has it, let's go." There was another one, like, see Stephen Curry play live in my lifetime. Not only did I get to do that, but, like, I covered that game when the Warriors came to play the Mavericks. It was I got to ask him a question, which younger me would have never even thought that that could have been a possibility, but it just happened. Like, I all of that to kind of say my goals and stuff like that are things that I feel lucky enough because of the job that I do, I'm getting to check off. What other reason would I have to go to I'm trying to think, Lubbock, Texas, than to do
Yeah.
something with the school, the university, Texas Tech. I don't have another reason to travel out to Lubbock except for what is directly influenced by my job. When I wanna see cities, I wanna see, like, Seattle, whenever I was younger, I actually traveled there for soccer. Like, it's the goals get checked off and stuff like that by choosing a career path that would allow me to do that, not just on a 2-week holiday somewhere. Wow, I feel like I'm Love Island gal pulling up holiday instead of vacation, but it's more like, wow, okay, like, I chose a career path that allowed me to do it and pursue it, which was really cool. I hope that answers
Yeah,
your question. Did that answer
no,
it?
I think it definitely answered it. I'm just even thinking about that's really cool that your goals are intertwined both with, like, your life I mean, it's all the same, I guess, but your life goal of wanting to travel and then also wanting to cover big time sports and being able to merge those because it doesn't have to be one or the other. Like, a lot of the times I feel like even I struggle with, like, do you wanna work to live or live to work, or is your job gonna take the premise, or is the goal gonna take the premise? But, like, learning that sometimes choosing a career, it's gonna feel like work. Even if you love your job, it's gonna feel like work sometimes. But those trade-offs, because it fits other parts of your life that you want to travel and you want to meet people and you want to do these other things and merging that with your work is really cool that you've been able to do that.
I know there's, like, a thing called, like, habit stacking that I've heard, and it's you're
Yes,
going through
I'm
your
reading
normal
Atomic Habits right now. It's
Oh,
phenomenal.
girl, I need to read the book. I've just seen everything
It's
on social
so
media,
good.
but, for example, I think about my day to day and I'm like, "Okay, here are things on my to-do list." For example, get a workout in and listen to some kind of podcast. Listen to this new music album, listen to the release radar on Spotify. I have it stacked by going, wait, I can just do 2 in 1. I'm gonna go on a long walk, run, or while I'm lifting or doing something, I'm going to check other things off of my to-do list at the same time. So it's like, wow, how wonderful is it that my career says, wait, you wanted to see LA? You wanted to see Boston? Shoot, okay. At the end of a work trip, go ahead and check that thing off the to-do list and make it happen because you're in the area. Like it's habit stacking in a career aspect,
Yeah.
I guess, which I know is a privilege, which I know is special, and not every job is like that. But yeah.
Yeah. How do you manage like, being on the road a lot, though, and having maybe a not so predictable schedule? Is that tough sometimes?
I thrive on it in a way. Right now, the off season, we have very little football going on right now, so it's actually kind of nice, and I'm getting to be in my apartment for weeks at a time, not just 2 or 3 days at a time, but I think it might be the type A in me where I know exactly what I pack at this point. So it's like, "Oh, I have cute suitcases and stuff like that, base."
Organized,
Uh-huh.
yes.
So that
I've
the
been
oh, yeah, you got
influenced. Thank
mm,
you to Sydney.
Merry Christmas.
For everybody, also for context, I skipped over 2 things. One, that Sydney and I became friends because of, my twin brother. They went to school together in
Yeah.
grad school. So, talking about the first time we met was because our my brother introduced us.
Yeah.
And, secondly, that Sydney Staples is also a very sweet, generous, amazing
Oh,
human being. So last Christmas, bought me a Bice bag, those really pretty ones that you see all over social media, and I love it so much. I feel like the coolest, baddest traveler at the
'cause you
airport, so
are, 'cause you are so cool. Like, I I that makes it fun. So, like, traveling,
it
sure, it can be hard on your body. It can be an interesting schedule where I don't know what I'm doing 2 days from now or vice versa, but then it's like, "Well, wait a second, like, this is exactly what I wanted. I know how I pack at this point. It takes me 20 minutes. I have the cutest little stuff to wear. I have the cutest little outfits to wear to the airport." So it's just like, I make all of it fun. Like, it is fun to be able to go,
yeah,
"Hey, wait, I'm going on a plane to go somewhere across the country." In my opinion, over, "Okay, well, I'm at a cubicle for 5 days out of the many weeks of the year," like, I
sure.
reframe it as, "Wow, this is so cool." Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no, I like that you reframe it. That's awesome. And even like the habit stacking part, they talk all the time about making it appealing
Yep.
and planning it out and putting those things out in the beginning.
Yep.
Um again, might be another abrupt switch. This is not very reporter of me to go from question to question or a little like all over the place today. But the on-camera part of your job,
Yeah.
how How do you deal with that? Do you feel like you have a mode that's on camera versus off camera, or do you feel like you just tap into your natural self? Like, what is that like? I feel like that's kinda hard for people that don't have that job or maybe do and they, like, struggle with it. I know I struggle with, like, on camera versus off camera sometimes. I don't know. How do you go about that? How do you stay grounded?
Okay.
Yeah.
It's interesting because at Syracuse, we were taught, like, "Be you on camera. Don't try to emulate a Mike Tirico or a Scott Hansen in a way because you're not them." There are aspects of who they are as sports broadcasters and people that you can pull as inspiration, but, like, if you want to come across on camera, um, in a way that people could connect with, like, I want it to be, "Hi, who you meet in person and who you're giggling with on my couch whenever you visited me in Dallas is the same person that you would see through the camera lens." But then again, I've gotten from so many people, like, "Oh, your reporter voice. I really like it." I'm like, "I have a reporter voice?"
Like, "Wait,
And
I didn't know."
yeah, and
Yeah.
I think part of it is I eh, honestly, being a woman is, "Okay, how can I make sure that I'm taken seriously on camera?" So I definitely think what's different about me on camera, I go lower voice to make it sound more confident and more like I'm projecting.
Mhm.
And I think the cadence in which I talk can be, if it really is a microphone and we're talking a post-game recap, like, there's a different flow and energy you feel there versus, "Hi, I'm talking to a best friend on a podcast, and I feel like I'm just having a normal conversation with you like I would a FaceTime." Um,
Yeah, it's still genuine, but I'm so with you on the lower register,
yeah,
slowing down, articulating. It's not like a different person or a fake version of you. It's just something that you have to do
little
for others to receive it.
subtle.
Yeah. Those are more skills that you practice and you improve on and like versus like completely changing your personality. It's not your personality, it's just skills to the job, I guess, and just
Yeah.
speaking in general. So that makes a lot of sense.
When Scott Hansen, like, came to Syracuse for, like, a giving day back the year that Michael O'Connor and I were.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and for anybody listening, I do call her twin brother Michael O'Connor. It is first and
Full name always.
you can be Kelsey. You're straight up Kelsey, and I love you, but it's Michael O'Connor, period. Alright, tangent, back on it. With Scott Hansen, you watch him on Red Zone, and you think you get an idea of who he is when you listen to him for what was 7 hours of commercial-free football. But whenever he came to do the giving day at Syracuse, it was incredible because his voice, everything, mannerisms, what I saw on my television screen for years and years and years on Red Zone is exactly the man that stood in front of so many of us students and talked to
Really?
us about his life. Like, he would go on for the almost 20 minutes on top of every hour, and, he'd be Scott Hansen, and then he would turn around and he'd continue being Scott Hansen. It was almost like he was on camera, but then I go, you aren't performing for the camera. You're being you, whether the camera lens is on you or not. So it's an interesting juxtaposition that I'm trying to figure out as I'm growing into the space of, okay, as wonderful and as much of a compliment as I take of, "Oh, I love your reporter voice," it's almost like, "Okay, well, what about my normal voice? Do you like my normal voice, or am I not coming across correctly on camera?" So it's that, he has many of years in the business and so many professionalized things about him, but I'm growing in that sense. So it kind of to be determined, the answer to this question.
Okay. Yeah, no, I appreciate that a lot, especially I don't know, just the idea that you're, like, working on making it more consistent, I guess,
Yeah.
between camera and normal, based on, like, what people are sharing with you, but is that something, I guess, even too, like, do you feel like the confidence that it takes or the self-assurance that it takes to even get up on a camera, hold a microphone, is that something that you feel like you've always been good at because you're such a high energy person? Or is that something you kinda had to work at confidence-wise or speaking skill-wise?
I wanna say that I've never been shy. That's definitely for sure. So, growing up, it really became in college when I started to get in front of the camera and go, "Wow, okay, there is a black circular lens that is staring at me, and I'm staring at it." The years of a lack of shyness, I think, prepared me to go, "Wait a second. All I'm doing is looking into a black circle. That's it." Like,
Yeah.
there's a person typically behind it, sometimes, if someone's manning the camera, but I would say it's an inner confidence of, I feel like it's what I was meant to do all along. Yeah.
Yeah. I do feel like, obviously, as somebody who's seen your stand up and been following all your things, there is a really cool genuineness about the way that you report. And there was one time you told me a story when you and Michael were at Green Bay, you were doing the summer interviewing the Packers, and you got to spend a lot of time interviewing players in the locker room, pregame, postgame. And there was one question that you shared with me that you would ask players and if you gr I don't remember exactly what it was, but I remember you saying that it really kind of set the tone for them feeling more open with you. Can you tell us what that was and
Yes.
that experience? Because I really loved when you shared that with me.
We would ask the players, "What do you want the media to ask you?" Like, what I
Yes,
and
that's right.
it's interesting because, many of the players, for example, Christian Watson, he was like, About me, about my life, not always on the field X's and O's stuff." And I think that can be hit or miss. Some players wanna keep it straight ball, don't wanna go into the personal life things. You're really testing the waters to see how someone answers that, but I'll never forget it. Uh, Christian Watson really liked watching a lot of anime and stuff like that, and right 5 minutes after that conversation, both Michael O'Connor and I went up to him, asked him that for fun. A scrum comes, and if you're not familiar with the world, it's just all the different reporter microphones and arms, talking 10 different coming at you from different ways, crowding you into your locker. We kinda got lost in that, and right at the end, Michael O'Connor goes, "If you were to describe your football self as somebody in the anime world, who would it be and why?" And it was like, the look on Christian Watson, like, his face and how he lit up and got so excited to ask, and it was such a colorful answer,
Yeah.
and it was so cool and fun, and it's a question that I take a lot of pride in sharing that with Michael O'Connor of, wow, I in a way, it feels like we kinda cracked a code a little bit that summer together going,
Yeah.
"We're not seeing people ask this, and we're not seeing people go into this." Mind you, we're the young guns in there, we're some people could look at that and be like, "We're talking training camp right now. We're talking who's gonna make a 53-man roster, like, pipe down over there," but I don't know, it's an angle that I think opened our eyes and those perspectives up to of, "Wait a second, come on now, he doesn't just play football. He doesn't just play soccer. That person doesn't just do hockey. It's, hi, I have a life. There are like me, I love watching Love Island outside of my work life.
Yeah.
I love hot yoga outside of my work life. I love dogs. If anybody were to come on here and ask me those questions, whoo, I'm gonna light up like a Christmas tree on a rick
Yeah.
versus, some of the other things. So yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, well, I think it's really cool too, because one, right, you said even as a reporter, like, you have a job to do, sure, about football, but you're making them feel like a human being, asking them even the sensitivity to ask them what they wish somebody would ask them, instead of assuming that they want to be asked about something personal or assuming they want to be asked about small talk or whatever, like, asking them what that is. If I were to ask you, what do you wish people would ask you, what would your answer be?
Ooh, I love talking about my brother, and I love talking about my dogs. 2 things that, like, I can go on a rampage about for sure. Mind you, Love Island? Sure, but sometimes
Yeah.
you gotta know the players to talk that game a little bit, but what I could show you quick
The Love Island.
oh my gosh, let me show you my dogs, let me tell you about my brother, like, those are
Yeah.
for me where I'm like, "Alright, yes, somebody has done their research or someone genuinely cares if you wanna get to know those parts about me."
Well, one of the questions I usually save it for the end, but I would love to ask you now because I feel like it's relevant to what you're just saying right now, is if you had to pick somebody else in your life to describe them by their attitude and how they treat other people and just what makes them unique, who would you pick and how would you describe them in those
Ooh.
ways?
I'll pick my brother, so I have an excuse to talk about him.
And your brother's name is Oakley.
My brother's name is Oakley, Oakley Scout Staples, coolest dude ever.
Shout out Oakley.
Yep. Um, it's interesting because I think it's fun to describe him because we are so opposite, yet similar in so many different ways, but we giggle to each other about how opposite we are. Like, I'm not shy. Oakley can be more reserved. It's something I admire about him because when I'm like coming in like freight train, Oakley is assessing when somebody and first meeting people and he's thinking and keeping to himself and well then if that person is worthy then lets them into his space. Meanwhile, I'm just like blah, 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 and I could learn a lot from that to be more reserved and to be more intentional with how I approach things. Um, I describe my brother as cool, calm, collected. I don't see him rattled. I don't see him get incredibly emotional unless I'm kicking his butt in Mario Kart being
Mario Kart.
competitive with one another. But on the daily, the biggest thing too, where it's opposite is I mentioned earlier, I'm type A. Oakley's way more type B. So he has absolutely no idea what he's going to be doing
Really?
24 hours from and mind you, he probably forgets what he did 48 hours ago. Meanwhile, I'm like on my to-do list on every Sunday. I'm mapping out my next Monday through Sunday. I'm living
Color coded, 3
oh,
calendar.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've got my little blocks of time throughout the day, and Oakley's more like, as the day comes, he accepts it and moves forward, and same, and I'm like, "Is this because you're a boy and I'm a girl, and is it that, or is it just something being like, 'Hi, this is' maybe I don't know if dichotomy is the right word for this, but I'm gonna use it because I think it makes me sound good."
I will say that it applies because
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah,
either.
it's all it feels like a yin
I
and
think
yang,
so, yeah.
where I see parts of myself in Oakley at times, and I hope more than anything in the world that he sees a piece of himself in me or can look at me and be really proud to be like, "Yo, that's my sister." Because I turn around and go, "Oh my gosh, I'm" not getting emotional. I'm so proud to be like, "I am a sister." Like, earlier when you were asking, like, "How do you describe yourself?" And yes, former soccer player. Yes, a current sports broadcaster. Like, I am so proud of the title of, like, not just being a daughter, but, like, I'm so lucky to be able to say that, like, I'm a sister, like, that I have a sibling. Oh, I just think it's the coolest thing in the world. I can only hope
That's so special,
I get to
yeah.
do that if I'm lucky enough to have kids one day. I can only hope that they have a relationship in that way. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really special. I so appreciate you sharing that. It's so special when you're friends with your siblings.
Yeah.
Like, my brothers are also my best friends, and to feel proud of being their sister and, like, getting to be a sister, that just, like, hits me in the heart too. That's so cool. Especially, like, you guys, I don't know, being brother, sister, like, there's a lot that, like, being competitive and all those other things, and it's, like, fun and lighthearted, but also on a deeper loving, like or level to be close with your siblings is, like, such a gift.
Yep.
Um, that's really special that you guys have that relationship.
Yeah, there
With, like
feels I have a huge sense of responsibility, especially because I'm the older one, where I'm like, there are only 3 people in the world that I've seen Oakley from day 1, and I've known him throughout each day of his life. That's my mom, my dad, and me. So it's like, I take this responsibility of, "Okay, I want to be part of his life for as long as I possibly can, and I wanna see him grow, and I also want him to be able to look at me in my life and go, 'Man, like, my sister isn't a dweeb all the time.' A lot of the time, sure, and I'll take that, but yeah, like, just wanting him to think cool things about me outside of when he loses to me in Mario Kart because it's just how the game goes.
Oh, I love that. Well, that's so cool that you guys are opposite too, but you can appreciate those parts of each other that are so different
Yep.
and complement and learn from each other and not change the way that you are, but appreciating that he's a little bit more slower and intentional. He probably can appreciate from you about like taking charge of things and really going after those things and organizing them and just I don't know, just like being able to complement traits and learn from each other is also really cool. I think it's funny because I don't know if I'm type A or type B. I think it's both, but my brother is very like type A organized and we just did like a work show together and it drives him crazy how scattered all of my things are. And like I had sticky notes everywhere and I could not organize a thing and he had I spent I spent 3 hours handwriting a list of phone numbers and then he automated it in 5 minutes and had it in a computer.
I wonder what
Time
sibling you're
wasted.
talking about. Which brother like,
Actually,
that is a genius like that. Who? My
um,
oh.
Michael actually just called me. I'll have to tell him
Uh,
that I didn't tell him that we were on podcast together.
this will be a surprise for him, okay?
It will be a surprise for him. Shout out McCall.
Macaw!
Um, Also context, I call Michael's name is McCaw in our household. Michael O'Connor to Sydney, McCaw to us. Um, Not to jump all the way back, but I guess that was usually my last question is about somebody else, but I think it's really cool, like, even when we were just talking about your question to the guy on the Packers, sorry, not the guy on the Packers, obviously, very famous athlete. No, I said it like that. To athletes that you're interviewing in general, how do you feel like people should approach having conversations that are more in depth without I think sometimes we villainize small talk, like nobody wants small talk anymore, which I can get behind because it's exhausting to have small talk, but I also think that there's just a normal calibration to conversation that starts with where are you from and how was your day? And I don't think that that's a bad thing. I think it's more of follow-up questions, but I would love to know what you think. Like, what's the solution to people having more in-depth conversations or maybe a little bit more richer interactions with people that usually start with small talk or your thoughts on small talk and just that in general?
Yeah. Um, at Syracuse, one of our incredible professors, Brent Axe, he was teaching us, the art of asking a question. And of course, there's the establishing ones of who, what, when, where, why. But to make small talk medium talk or more intentional than, hi, how's your morning? Oh, great. Or, hey, what do you do for a living? While I'm really passionate about what I do for a living, some people are maybe not so passionate about their jobs. And in fact, they don't want to talk about that outside of,
Yeah,
but
100%.
there is always a way, as Professor Axe taught us with, let's ask an open ended question. So, um, if I'm going, hey, how was your day today? There's the classics, the yes nos and people just shut you down, but also like, good. How about
Mhm.
instead, what did you do today? What was really cool about your day? What's a really interesting part of your day that you've had that you weren't expecting? Instead of maybe did your day go as planned? Because somebody's going to go, yeah or no. It's like, okay, well, tell me about your morning. What happened at lunch? What did you eat for like how can you ask the question that maybe one would typically receive, but in a really unique way that then they go, wait, I'm not wired to answer what was a cool part of your day. I'm wired
Yeah.
to answer how was your day? Good. But then it goes, wait, I gotta think a little bit here. Ooh, okay. And Okay, here's a really cool part of my day. I got to go on a podcast, my first ever podcast with one of my best friends who I consider a sister. Then how much more fun is that if I'm on the other end of that conversation to go, "Wait, what was the podcast about? What'd you guys talk about? Ooh, this is your first
Yeah.
listen to podcasts? What kind of podcasts do you listen to?"
Is this your first podcast?
"Oh, this is my first podcast."
I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
I'm so honored. That's so cool.
like, find different unique ways to ask questions, and I think you will find unique answers and people their brains turning on to go, "Huh, okay." In a locker room, tying it back to sports broadcasting. How does it feel, that game that you just lost? Oh, what do you have to do differently? Same old, same old. You're gonna get the
Mhm.
player's speech, the coach speak, yada, yada, yada. Okay, something I asked Brian Schottenheimer this year, final game of the season, or second to final game, whatever it was. Instead of like, the classic is, okay, what did you guys talk about in the locker room? And they're gonna get the coach speak. We need to play better. We need to do our best here. Blah, blah, blah. Instead, I was like, what did you think about from the time that you were running off of the field into the locker room? Where did your mind go? What was and he was like, "Oh, I've never asked that question before." And I'm typically someone that
Yeah.
asks, "What was the locker room like? How are the guys?" But you ask it in a different way, someone's mind is gonna go, "Ooh, I gotta answer it in a different way." And I think you could be really surprised at where then conversations could veer off into afterwards.
That's such a cool answer. Like, not jumping from, like, "How was your day?" to, like, "What are you doing this year? What was your, like, upbringing?" You know what I mean? Like, some, like, intensity, like, swapping intensity, but just basically taking the questions that we already ask, or maybe that you see other people ask and you're supposed to ask those questions. But basically what I'm hearing you say is rewriting them in a way that makes somebody think about it differently, like, it asking it in a different way that's gonna make them think about it in a different way because it's not a routine question. That's
Be
kinda like what I'm hearing you say.
I wanna have stimulating conversation, and I don't wanna ask a hard question that's hard to
Yeah.
answer, but I do wanna ask a question that I'm gonna get a good answer. Like, if I'm trying to have more than just the surface level, "Hey, how are you?" "Oh, I'm great, how are you?" Like,
Yeah.
"Alright, boom, ask this." Out of nowhere, I do this all the time, ask random questions, be like, "Okay, like, what's your favorite TV show?" "Oh, what is it?" "Ooh, I don't" the classic, like, yoga the other day, I'm like, "Can you do a split?" And she's like, "Wow, hi." I'm like, "I wanna know, can you do a split?" "I can't. I wanna do a split, but, like, just be different. Have
Yeah.
me." There are people that I'm just fine going, "I'm good. How are you? Thank you. Awesome. Great. Good to see."
Yeah.
But there are others
Not
that
every conversation has to be, like, fully deep,
read
fully
that
past
room,
this. Yeah.
have that social I would think when you know somebody, it can be easy to pick up on their cues. Are they having a good day, a bad
Mhm.
day? Are they in a good mood? But maybe some of those new people, I think pretty quickly, in my opinion, you can read. Are they yeah, I don't know.
Are they, like, ready for this conversation to just be really short and end before it even starts? Are they somebody that really wants to talk to somebody? Um, I even know just in general kind of being I was just working this weekend, it was really fun, I was at a softball event and doing some of my, like, mental performance stuff, and it's really fun sometimes when you have athletes and I'll ask them, like, one question about I don't even remember what it was. Oh, they were like, "I'm trying to lock in." I said, "Oh, well, what does trying to lock in look like? Like, what is that looking like for you?" And then we ended up having, like, a 30-minute conversation that led somewhere a lot deeper. And but, like, reading kinda initially, I asked that question, and the answer was, like, 2, 3 minutes long, and they were just looking to talk about something and share, and you can kind of read that versus, like, "Oh, I'm just trying." I've also had people like that too, and you're like, "Okay, cool." Like, definitely, I'm not gonna push it unless it's, like, part of the actual job and we're supposed to be working together, but you can kinda read it. I was just talking to my older brother too, we were talking about changing up questions like that, and even, like, the question of what is your favorite I know he got this from somewhere, and so I feel so bad I don't know how to quote it. I guess I'll find it and put it at the bottom or something, but he read somewhere that changing the question of what is your favorite movie to what is your Mount Rushmore of favorite movies.
Ooh. Yeah.
And it's like I've started using it, and it's really helpful to get people talking about they don't feel, like, stressed about picking one or feeling like what they do pick is gonna show something about who they are,
Uh,
but, like, giving them space to, like, have dialogue around which ones they like, which ones they don't. So even just, like it kinda goes back to what you're saying about just asking something, but in a different way. It's the same level of question of, like, "What's your favorite?" But asking it in a way that they maybe haven't heard it before to get a stimulating conversation for them to answer in a way they haven't had to think about it before.
yeah. Do you find when you are having in-person conversations without a microphone, without you sitting somewhere and it's like formally, "Hi, we're on a podcast together." Does it feel easier to you?
It does. 100%. Yeah, it does.
Yeah. When I'm in a locker room and I've got the mic in my hand and then the videographer's following or whatever in the scrums, you can see the tension versus mics down or something, no scrums going on. And like, for example, like I would go up to like a Brandon Cooks when he was playing for the Cowboys last season. I'd be like, "Tell me about yourself." Talked about Oregon, we talked about his family, but the guard went when it wasn't
Yeah.
some formal interview, scrum, blah, blah, blah. It was wait, literally just person to person.
I've seen a lot of motivational speakers because obviously, right, I'm building a motivational speaking business. And I see a lot of speakers that will interview or not interview, they'll film some of their interactions after their speech. And they're really heartfelt, and there's nothing wrong with them. I think it's awesome. I think it's heartfelt. But there's always been something to me, and I've really committed to not filming anybody after a speech because when they come up and talk to me, I know there's going to be a difference between somebody filming and recording for me to
Yep.
get promotionals and me to get social videos and websites for people to see how impactful my speech was. I would so much rather, unfortunately, forego the promotional and the material that might get me more business for the sake of holding a really good space for somebody after a talk when they want to share with me something authentic, like vulnerable
Yep.
to them. Because some of the stories, it's my favorite part of speaking is when people come up to share things afterwards, like, they're really sharing things, and that is just the most I'm so honored and humbled and privileged that somebody trusts me enough to walk up and share something like that with me, and it's also at the same time too, if I were to go post that, what is truly the purpose? Yes, maybe it's to share a good story, but now I'm almost, like, framing it like I'm the speaker, I'm the expert, I'm helping them, when it's I mean, we're helping each other, we're both human beings, there's nothing I don't know. There's something special about that interaction without a camera that I think I don't know, like you said, it's just so much more natural, and I wonder for you too, like, you have to do your job, right? So you have to film some of those interactions with players, but then making the time to find them or talk to them outside the camera. It just makes people feel like you're not doing it all for the videos, especially in a time right now where it just kind of feels like so much is for the post or for the video or for the content. Like not everything in life is content. Sometimes I see that all over social media of post the content, film it every day and you have like you're filming your trips and that's so cool. Like that's not the issue, but when we make all of life content or everything that we do a bit or content or a story to be shared, I think it loses, I don't know, some of its value. Some things can just be private
I love a
and
tripod. Like, I love
yeah.
taking video of myself when I am working or taking pictures, but if I were to carry that tripod around with me every single day and film me cooking, film me watching a show, then I think I would cross a boundary where it's more performative, and I'm not living for me, I'm living for a camera. I I wanted to ask you, when you're having your speech engagements, speaking engagements, I think that's the better word for it. How much do you incorporate crowd work? Because I think to
Mm.
myself, I'm not trying to, like, say, like, like, I think about comedians and stuff and how fun it can be when you're kind of going off the dome in the audience, but I think about myself and how unless I'm in an interview setting and it's going live, I'm mostly talking to a I don't always have the opportunity to kind of go Q&A in the moment. and feed off of somebody else's energy. So what I love about a podcast, I'm literally just having a conversation with you. But, like, when
Mhm.
you're up there on that stage, I'm thinking about me with a mic. I'm having a conversation with a black lens. I'm used to that now, but I'm not having it with thousands of people sitting in front of me. With you, do you use that to your advantage? Is it, I don't wanna put people in a weird place? I'm so curious about your approach to that stuff.
Yeah, okay, I love this question. I do definitely interact with the crowd and I feed off of their energy. I'm not someone who likes to make people speak into the microphone or ask them to do that. I'm not somebody who does a lot of jokes. I feel like it's really leaning into what's authentic to my personality. So some speakers will say use a lot of crowd work. I like something that helps me too when I'm doing a speech is I kind of for my own brain have to kind of stay on my mind map and targets. Otherwise, like, I really do struggle still with some brain fog and getting off track. So, even for me to be able to do my speech pretty well, if I get too far off track, now at the same time, it depends on the size. I'll definitely be like the raise your hand, or if I usually get there early and I'll have talked to some of the people before, I'll add it in there. I try not to do anything that's gonna make people feel called out or uncomfortable just because I don't know, I know that sometimes we can challenge people and that's good, but for me personally, I know I was always somebody who really just liked to feel safe and sit back and absorb what a speaker was saying, and so if I was kind of calling things out in a small crowd, I wouldn't like, I don't go up to people and kinda do the into the crowd speaking because I think that, I don't know, can make people really nervous, and
Yeah,
I just try to be really sensitive to everybody there, like, you don't know how comfortable they feel. So, I do like the "Have you been to North Carolina?" I kinda ask depending on who the audience is, I'll, like, play into some things off their energy, and sometimes you get a crowd that's really verbally affirming, or they'll be like, "Mhm," and I'll kinda bounce back to some of the things that they ad lib say and be like, "Yeah, thank you," or, kind of, like, joke with them, but I usually always try to keep it on script for the most part.
okay,
Number 1, just to make I don't know, to keep it feeling most authentic to me and my style. My style is pretty narrative, and I also like, I'm not much of a joke person. I make a joke here and there if, like, the time allows, but it's not something I lean on because that's just not fitting to my personality. Like, I'm not a outwardly comedic person.
yeah,
I'm more soft and like, flowy in my words, and my speeches have a lot of, like, depth to them, and I try to just lean into that and, like,
okay,
my authentic energy, and so I really don't do as much crowd work as a lot of speakers would even recommend, and I actually think that it does better for me with engagement and people really zoned in more than I think I would actually disrupt my natural style by adding in crowd work for the sake of more engagement when I really feel like the feedback that I've received so far is there's like a continuous flow and I just like capturing attention right away and just keeping it there.
yeah,
I don't know if that answers your question. That was such a ramble,
absolutely.
but
No, it's something I've just been curious about, and, like, as we were kind of talking, I was like, I don't know if this fits in the flow of this podcast, but, like, I have to ask this question. Like, I'm so curious.
no, it's such a good question. Cause yeah, I guess it is 2 different feelings of work, and there's definitely times when I have a smaller crowd. There was one time this last August, I was speaking at an event, it was when I visited you in Texas. I was at the Texas Rangers Stadium. We partnered with this nonprofit, and we did this event, and it was, like, 60 people. It was, like, families, parents, and we started 20, 30 minutes late. And I had a section of 30 minutes to talk, and we were trying to go off of Marcus Simeon was coming to talk in between his, like, batting practice and then going to the pro game. So we were, like, running a tight ship, hopefully, to get him in there, to get our panel, and when I started my speech, I was trying to actively think of what I was going to cut, how engaged were they, what parts could I skip through, and I'm, like, actively trying to read who's like, how they're looking at me and how engaged they are, and where I should go, where I should cut depending on even the context of the venue and where people's attention spans are, if I'm closing versus opening. But then it was also really cool because I was expecting to have to cut a bunch of it and they were like fully leaned in, fully locked eyes, like, wow, verbally affirming. So I go, okay, I can lean into that part timing's gonna be fine. They're really engaged. Let me not let them miss if they're really connecting with that. So that's also can be really interesting when you have, like, external parts of the event that are changing the way that you have to vibe out the crowd.
Yeah.
I was speaking this last weekend, and it was so cold outside, and I was talking to all these kids, and I was like, "It's cold. I know they wanna get out of here. I'm the last person of the day. Let me, like, vibe out where we're gonna take it." But, um, yeah, I don't know, it's interesting feeding off people, but then also not letting that change what you prepared and what you, like, goaled out to do because one person can really throw you off if they're just, like, so over it. Meanwhile, you have 5 other people that are grabbing onto your words. So if you let one person let you speed up and then those 5 people miss what they were really was really helping them, that's something too where it's like, stick with your stuff
Yeah.
even if the crowd is going one way or the other.
Oh, this is fascinating. I love how, like, similar our worlds can be in their own adaptations. Like, there's times in the locker room where it's like you feel out, "Our guys needing to go? Do we need to go? Is somebody really leaning into this? Are they actually really happy about this scrum?" Like, Micah Parsons was
Yeah.
like, he would answer questions. He was there. He was given his time. Other players are more quick, abrupt, simple, you name it. So then I think, okay, how do you cater to that audience? Because the audience then for me is my interviewee, while for you it can be those hundreds of people that you're speaking in front of. And it's like that reading the room, knowing, oh, I think it's so cool how similar our life is, but isn't. Oh, I think it's so cool.
I think it's so cool too. I also think it's really cool that when you share this different way that you're asking questions, and you even said you were like, we're the youngins, maybe
Yep.
this isn't how you're supposed to do it. Finding the balance of listening to the advice of experts in the field that have done it while also changing it to fit something new because are you going to be able to stand out and be unique or not even just about being unique, but, like, really have authenticity if we're starting to reuse the same formula.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so curious about this for you when you say that you're asking some of these different questions because 'cause I'm sure there's questions that you're told that you should hit and ask, but then there's also questions that you're like, "But I'm curious about this because I know in speaking, there's all of these different boot camps and webinars about how to write a keynote. And when I write mine, it's take some of that with me. I've definitely gathered parts, but then I also realize, like for example, there's a lot of advice that says don't say hello and good morning to your guests. Just go right into the story. And for me, that feels so awkward. Like I want to thank people for their time and say good morning, and I do it in a natural way that's not super drawn out. But I'm like it breaks every bone and fiber in me to not just say thank you for coming. I'm it's really excited to be here. That's too natural to me, so I'm gonna, like, leave that advice on the shelf for my keynotes, even though
Yeah.
a lot of people will say, "Well, that grabs attention." Kinda like when you hear a TED Talk at the start and it's, "Imagine a world," and it goes right into it.
Yep.
I don't know, I'm like, "That's too abrupt for me." So it's like balancing the advice with your own style and something new. How do you do that when you're trying to figure out what questions you're gonna ask?
Um, that same professor, Brent Axe, he kind of taught us like you can a lot of people will write a grocery list of questions. I want to hit A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And that's okay. I still do that with the Big 12 job that I'm doing right now. I prep for my interviews and think here are things, topics I want to discuss with my interviewee. But then there are times where I'll ask a question, maybe I get through one and two, and our professor taught us, he was like, listen, it's the most important thing. Like, I would so much rather you could give me gold and you could be going off on this tangent that I would have never even thought to ask you, that none of my research would have helped me prepare for, that is so off the cuff, but riveting. And it's like, then you just go to your next question. It's like, roll the grocery list away, crumple it up, rip it up, and go down that rabbit hole because it could be even better than anything you could have anticipated. So that's kind of the best advice when it comes to questions is just listen. Like they could what good you thought a story or an angle or something could be, go deeper and you may be really surprised at just how much better it is, and especially just how much better it is that you could have never imagined or prepared for ahead of time. Like I kind of
Yeah.
feel like in our podcast right now, like I know there's a time that you like to hit, and I know that you definitely come prepared with questions, but I think there's an element to the sincerity of a conversation when think about daily life when you go on rants and you're like, "Wait, what was I talking about? Oh, this." It's like it feels so natural, and I think it can, again, lead to a destination or down a rabbit hole that could be even better than something you would have thought beforehand for.
Yeah, 100%. Like, even just the conversations that you have in your life that go in all these other directions. 100%. I had a list of
Yeah.
questions because I'm like, "Well, I wanna make sure I'm prepared out of
Yep.
respect for her time because I love her and her time is valuable." But then also, one of the reasons I even asked you was because even in reflecting on starting a podcast even and being on a lot of them now and feeling out the difference even as a receiver of when somebody came with a list, I even felt stressed to have to hit those answers in
Yep.
that time, so I cut things that I wanted to say versus the one that flowed, I felt like I was pretty free to talk about, and I kind of knew that because we have a genuine relationship, like, hopefully, it would just flow from somewhere, and I think that's so cool that it does, and also, I think being curious is such a good trait, but being curious isn't about having a laundry list of questions. Being curious is about really listening and wanting to understand the other person so genuinely, even if it's not something you were intending to, like,
Yep.
know about them, but, like, asking to listen and really absorb, not just asking for the sake of asking an interesting question.
Yep.
You're
Yes.
asking for them, not for you.
Check, check, check. I think we've taught each other so much this podcast, or at least I'll say that, like, I've
I do
learned so much
too.
from you because seeing you in this role of the host and stuff, it's so refreshing to be somebody who is on the receiving end of questions every once in a while, and
Yeah.
to see your style, I'm thinking to myself, "Okay, how am I gonna take this experience and then implement it in my own style, in my own unique ways?" Like, how can I don't know, I feel so inspired with our conversation and the way that you approach it and carry it out. I think it's so cool.
Oh, Sid, thank you. So do I. Honestly, it's so cool that you could know each other so well and then still continue to learn more. Again, just like asking there's always more you can learn about even the people
Yep.
that you love, even the people that you see every day, like, getting creative about wanting to learn more about them. And, like, even for you, like, I felt myself calm even as we were continuing to talk to be like, "Okay, where's she taking the conversation? What is something how do I even get past kind of the typical list of things and, like, learn more about you, even if I feel like I know so much about you already? Like, what are some things you wanna talk about or people don't ask you
Yep.
or conversations you don't have normally in life that you wanna have right now on this kind of platform? So even your just, like, boldness and curiosity is definitely making me, I don't know, think and the way that you show up very authentically yourself on camera, it's something that I'm, like, working on so much. So, to see you be able to do that very genuinely, consistently is something that makes me feel inspired and also, I guess, hopeful to, like, keep doing that too, I guess. And back to my original statement to you, which was reading the questions that I had for you. I was gonna ask you about who my first question was, who is Sydney Staples beyond the soccer field, beyond the sidelines? If you didn't have those things, like, who would you be? Um, Tell us a little bit about your soccer career, tell us a little bit about your career so that just people that don't know you can kinda know what we're talking about and who you are. And then the jump from school to work life, some of your goals as a broadcaster, you actually just answered that without me asking you. Um and then getting into some of the deeper things, I asked my mom this morning, I was like, "What should I ask Sydney Staples about?" Like, I
Oh, I
and she goes,
must
"Well,"
know this answer.
"What are you curious to know about Sydney that you don't already kn that you don't know? What are you really curious about? If you were sitting on the couch with her, what are you curious about?" And it totally took me out of, like, I gotta finish my podcast mode into, "Oh my god, what do I want to ask my friend?" And that's where I wanted to ask you, how do you and I are very related in being athletes and having really strong goals, but also wanting to be present. So I even wrote down that quote I think we talked about together. I'll include it in the bottom because I don't remember who said it, but it was like, I wanted to be a millionaire in my 20s, and in my and when I was a millionaire, I wanted to be in my 20s. When I was in my 20s, I wanted to be a millionaire, and, like, wanting the other half of things, like,
Yep.
balancing. I wanted to know how much trait you had to practice to be good at what you do versus what you just already had. I wanted to know how you
I'll
think
answer
of
that.
small talk. Yeah.
Shoot, let me answer these. Let's have some
Oh,
fun.
yeah, let's go back to
Okay.
them.
Do I think that I've had to really practice to be good? I'm not gonna say that, but I'm also not gonna have an ego and say that, of course, I'm naturally good at this. But what I will say is I am doing the right thing. I
Mm,
feel like I am meant to be doing what I am doing right now. I'm meant to be along this career path, and this is even applicable in my life path outside of career. I of course, reps is great for anybody. Hello, I wanna hone in on a craft, but the best way I could answer that is I am doing what I am meant to be doing, and I am growing and becoming more professional in it the more that I do it. Best way that I would answer it.
no, that's such a good answer. I'm so curious, did you always know that this was what you were meant to do?
It hit me my sophomore year of high school. Freshman
Mm.
year, I really liked my English classes, and we were doing Greek mythology. Sophomore year, I absolutely loved my English teacher, Mr. Morgan, Socratic circles, you name it.
Oh
But,
my gosh,
they were
Socratic circles.
so good. But I remember they would, have, like, kind of those career days, and they'd be like, "Okay, well, pick from this list." And I was like, "Well, I wanna be a professional soccer player." And I kid you not, the people that had come in, I told our whole class, "No one's allowed to pick professional athlete. The chances are so slim, find something else, it's not good enough." And I remember being, like, defiant in that, being like, "Who are you to tell me that I can't get there?" But then I was like, "Huh, well, let me backdoor it. I wanna work in sports. Can't get mad at me for saying that. I'm not gonna be particular what." And then I went one day, "All right, ESPN reporter, sure." And from there, once I thought it, that
Yeah,
thought didn't leave my brain. It was like, "Yep, that's what I'm doing, period." Simple. And it's
really. Have you ever questioned it along the way, or has it
nope,
been pretty steady for you? Like,
that's no. And what's
that's really
interesting
cool.
is people have asked me my name and stuff, and I've even told my parents if they're on, they're flight attendants and they work with people. Uh, and I'm Sydney Staples. The amount of times I've gotten like, "Whoa, that's like a TV name." I'm like,
It really is a TV name.
"Wow, thank you, mom and dad," because it's not like you guys envision me being a sports broadcaster one day, but, um, that's what I'm saying. It's always felt right. It still feels right. And no, I have not had any doubts. It's been, "I'm doing it, period. I'm gonna go to a school that is the best of the best. I'm going to apply to
Mhm.
one grad school program, the best of the best." And now it's, "Okay, I've graduated. Let me really put that degree and everything to work. Like, I'm going to make this happen no matter what." I think it'd be really cool to be like an interior designer. I think it'd be really cool to like open my own little fashion brand. But all of that being done as things I'm passionate about and would love to pursue because it's super fun and fun hobbies
Mhm.
on the side of where my passion is working in sports and doing what I
Yeah,
do.
that's really cool. And that you say, I mean, it kinda leans into traits that you've had, and when somebody's deciding if it's not as clear for them, there's that wheel of what are you good at? What can make you money? What do you like to do? And, like, merging those things to pick some things that meet those criteria together, and so finding something that you also feel purposeful in and passionate about and see as purposeful beyond just the fact that it's fun and cool.
Yeah.
So even you, like, wanting to highlight people's stories is more of a purpose than just that you think it's fun and cool and like the idea of it
Yeah.
is what it sounds like. It's just, like, a deeper, like, feeling for you that makes it why.
My mom and I, we started watching, like, the Taylor Swift docuseries of her Eras Tour, and the
Yeah.
very opening part of, all of it. I would not deem myself a Swiftie, but man, do I respect her and who she is and what she everything about Taylor Swift.
Mhm.
Um, One of the things in the show was her opening up with her her stage crew before a concert, and she was like, "Everybody in this room at some point has had somebody tell them, like, basically, you're not gonna make money dancing. You're not gonna make money in music. You're not gonna do this. Do you know the classic what you tell, like, a starving artist and stuff like that, like, you're not gonna make it." But then she goes, "But look at every single one of you. We are here." Like,
Yeah.
although this is a very niche career path, make it happen. Whatever it is, whatever your career path is, like, get it done. You will find if you want it that bad enough, you will find a way to make it happen and make it work.
Yeah. Yeah. At least do everything within your power to try
Yep. And
before.
if you feel that you're giving up because it's too hard or whatever, nope. Dig your heels into the ground further. Stick it out longer. You'll know when it's time to leave something. And if
Mhm.
you don't know, it ain't time to leave. Stick with it.
Okay. Feels motivated, Sid. Like,
Ooh,
yeah, yeah, I can.
yeah, girl. Ooh, what other questions?
Um,
Your
Thank you for
editors are
answering that
really gonna have a
one.
blast with this one, I'm sure.
They are. I'm wondering if I'm gonna turn this into 2 parts, I don't know.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
What would you think of a 2-part?
I'm down.
Basically, you and I talk about all the time about small talk and wanting good conversations, and I hear it just even from friends in this part of life, like post-college. Like, there's something really easy not easy. There's something that's kinda nice about when you're lucky enough to have roommates that you like and you start talking about every day because you spend time together or whatever the case is. But I have cousins that are in college or friends that are in 20s. And the exhausting thing is like making small talk and feeling like you're never getting past it. Cause also you're like having to put friends in your calendar and see them every 3 weeks. Or if you're in college, like it's just kind of hard to make friends right now. I don't know, it just is. It's what I'm really hearing from a lot of people in high school and college and whatever. So basically, my question was like, how do you yeah, but you already answered, but you're welcome to answer again, is like, how do you approach small talk so that it's not just completely disrupting something that's, like, socially abnormal for me to be, like, meeting you off the street and be like, "What's something exciting happening for you in 2026?" Like, you'd probably be like, "Whoa, like, I don't
Yeah.
really know you." But how would you encourage people that I guess my new question that's similar to that was like, how would you encourage, like, people that are in college or people that are, like, kind of feeling lonely in their 20s and making friends past surface level to approach conversations that are gonna help with that? 'Cause it's hard.
I don't want to neglect people that are dissimilar from one another because I think it's important to venture out and meet new people of different beliefs, thoughts, backgrounds, you name it. But
Yeah.
if you need a starting point, I think about for me, I struggled with my teammates on the women's soccer team at Lehigh for a lot, a while. So then it's how do I branch out and how do I find people that I'm going to be able to connect with better? What can I do? Well, there's plenty of other sports at Lehigh. There are many people that are taking the same classes as I am that are on a journalism track. There has to be some similarities here if you're an athlete at Lehigh. If you are somebody that's taking journalism classes, start with those people. If you're in school, who has similar interests in me? All right, let me kick it off there. Now, how you approach that person, you could be like me and be like, freight train, hi, I'm Sydney. Let's be friends. Talk to me. And some
Yeah.
people could receive that really well. Um, you could also just simply at some point, whoever you're sitting next to, look at them and be like, "What do you got up to today?" Like start with the people that you're similar with if you need some kind of starting point. And at that point, once you're starting to get your feet under you, if you're feeling more confident about the way that you can start conversations, anybody. If you are getting ice cream 30 minutes away from your college campus or whatever, and you see somebody that's got a really dang good blizzard from Dairy Queen, I'm going up to that person being like, "What flavor did you get? How good is it?"
Yeah.
On a
And it's
scale of
like a muscle to flex, but the more you flex it, the better you get at
yeah,
it.
so
It's like breaking through a wall, and the first time you do it sometimes, like, I'm sure you've had this experience for sure with your personality. I do all the time. I'm like, "Hi," like, "Oh, how are you?" Or, like, you kinda just, like, go in for the conversation, and there's no response or,
Yep.
like, no reaction. You're like I usually, like, dap myself up. I'm like, "Okay."
You get out
And
of
you
it
just
gracefully, you kinda
you
take
move
it on the
on.
chin and go, "No, I got it. Yep, on."
Okay, yeah.
But then there's others where it's like, how could I have ever lived life not having made this connection with this person, even if it was small, short, turns into something long term, whatever it is. Like,
Yeah, 8 out of 10 times, it's usually pretty special, whether it ends up being long term or not.
and here's the thing, those other 2 out of 10 times, memorable enough where you're gonna giggle about the story.
That's true.
Like,
Or you're gonna feel it in the moment like, "Oh."
and you can look back and go, "Oh my god," and then at some point you're gonna have a conversation, like you and I, then can be like, "Wait, Kelsey, you will never believe what just happened to me in a coffee shop. I tried telling this girl she's got really cute shoes, and she looked at me and goes, "Mm." Like, you could end up
Yeah.
laughing about it. Now, when you laugh about it in the moment, afterwards, who knows? But, like, there everything is going to lead to a story. So just and everyone has their own story, so go. Just try it. Like you kinda mentioned, maybe it's not so much like just post it, like when people
Mhm,
have that, because then you're do it for you. If there is
mhm.
one thing you do a day that makes you uncomfortable, my gosh, by the end of the year, 300 something plus days of you having tried something that made you uncomfortable, I'm gonna really doubt by the end of that year, you're gonna be uncomfortable when it comes to half of that, if not more of that. So you're like, oh, this wasn't so bad. Like,
Yeah. That ability, I tell a lot of the kids that I work with of, like, that aren't as just naturally outgoing, and they'll say to me all the time, "Well, you're naturally outgoing," and I'm like, "I was just as shy as you. I was 2 words, not really like, confidence was a trait and a skill. It's not something you fake, it's just something that you practice. So, you pushing yourself a little bit and speaking up and talking to somebody, like, that's you practicing a skill and a trait that you will eventually continue to try on
yep.
and wear over time, and then you feel like it aligns with you. You go, "I am a confident person." You might not feel that way right now, but it's I don't know, I've gotten away from the fake it till you make it kinda thing because I'm like, it's not faking if you're
No,
just practicing and trying something different.
yes. Like that thing where you're professional in something when you completed 10,000 hours of it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, how about this? Let's make that much more digestible. You are going to be so much better at working up the nerve to start a conversation if you try it 10 times. You could be checking out,
Mhm.
getting coffee, and instead of just giving your order, be like, wait, what's the best thing on the menu? Okay,
Yeah.
cool. What do you recommend? What is something I should stay away from? You'd be like, try it 10 times.
You
And
just
then,
invite things into your life when
yep,
you do that.
yep, like you're gonna see some benefits of it. And it might not be you have 10 best friends from it, but benefits could be internally the confidence that you'll end up feeling. The
The reward of making somebody else feel seen. Like,
yeah,
I know the other day I was at the airport and I said something I just said good morning to a woman who looked like I don't know, she was, like, struggling to figure out like, you know where you get your bag tags?
yep,
Like, you try to print them out? Well, actually, she turned to me, she's like, "How do you start this?" And I was like, "Oh, like, well, let me help you." And, I think I just said good morning to her, and then she asked me, she goes, "Actually, like, how do you work this?" And then basically, like, she didn't have her son with her for the first time that she was traveling, and so I was like, "I have time," and we went through, like, how to print the back tags together, how to pay for them, and then she was, like, a little confused about, like, dropping them off, so I was like, "Well, let's just do it all together," and we basically spent the morning together and did it together, and then she went to her flight and I went to mine. And it was there's nothing that's gonna be like, "Oh, let me, like, record it or let me talk," like, there's no obviously, I'm talking about it right now, but it's just, like, little pings that you're like, "Oh, what a nice, like, personal interaction. I feel so good doing that for somebody else." And there's totally times where somebody else does that for me, and it makes my whole day because I really needed it that day. It's like
yeah,
currency. It just
yep.
when you have it, you give it. When you need it, it usually comes around to you, which is really wonderful.
Look how you initiated a conversation and it instantly gave somebody who was probably in their mind thinking, "Oh my god, I can't do this." And then all of a sudden you say, "Hi." And she's like, wait, how, like, she didn't have that outlet beforehand. Maybe she would have really struggled to do that, like, currency. Yep. There's gonna be a way that that has a greater impact than you could have known, that you may ever
Yeah.
you maybe next time she's at the airport, there's gonna be somebody else who's traveling without somebody for the first time and doesn't know how to work it, and she's gonna be like, "Wait, I got you. Let me help." You'll never know,
Yeah, like, you just have no idea.
and it's cool that you're talking about it. It's not performative that you're bringing this up right now. It is, man, and then, Kelsey, I swear to goodness, on her trip back from wherever it was that she was going, she could return that favor, and you would never know. Like, like, the when you're going through a Starbucks drive-through and you're, like, paying for somebody's behind you, and I
Yes, yeah.
pisses people off in a way, but it's like, the people who have to continuously do that, but you start this chain, that
Mhm.
could really impact things along the way that you just would've you'll never know the answer to,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
it's
so I
meant to be
think
that
just
way.
encouraging people to take a first initiation when they have the strength to do so. It's even interesting that you say even starting with a commonality because I think so many of us have more commonalities than we realize. And that's even kind of like the whole message and the premise and all those things. And when you were saying that, I thought about my roommates who, I like had lost a lot of my friends for a really bad situation at NC State, was, like, really and had struggled with head injury, off the grid, like, basically went off the grid, was struggling with all kinds of cognitive things, whatever. Found them on Facebook, and you would think that we were so different, and yet I was it's kind of like what's it called? Called to, like, reach out to them because they had listed they were like, "Well, we love game nights and art nights and also going out a little bit." And I thought, "Oh my gosh, like, here's, like, a little bit of a thread that we can pull together." And so looking back, like, we're actually very, very different, and I didn't think about starting with a commonality, it was just, like, a Facebook message.
Mhm.
And at that time, I did not have much of the strength to be an initiator, and they were just, like, inviting me to everything, like, "Come to trivia, come to strawberry picking, come to" then they invited me to Canada on a trip, they're like, "Come to Canada." Within, like, 3 weeks, I was like, "Okay," and then we became, like, really good friends, so, I don't know, just, like, when you have the strength to initiate something with somebody, a conversation or something, like, give it, comes back to you.
Once you start with, like, if the starting point is finding commonalities with people, once you start to get really good at that and you hone that in, you're gonna be able to go up to anybody who is not similar to you. And then that skill that you've worked so hard to develop, you then find commonalities with that person who is so different than you because we're all connected by something, some way, somehow. Just find it. Like, and you oh, I feel so passionately about it with all of the traveling that I do. I have these notes in my phone of from when I was in Nebraska, from when I was here, and it's, like, people that I met along the way. I flew to Wisconsin a week or 2 ago, and a guy was like, "Ma'am?" And I was eating my Chick-fil-A biscuit with pickles on it. "Excuse me?" I'm like, "Hi." It's like, "Hi. I really like your Labubus." I go, "Huh? You know what a Labubu is? Stop." I get ridiculed for these by some of my friends. Some people don't know what they are. And that was the next 10 minutes, and then I wrote his name down, and I was like, I'll never forget that. Like,
Oh,
it's
that's
in my
so awesome, I
now,
love that.
just fun things, it's like that little commonality, somebody else did it. I was a little funked that morning, I was sleepy, I was tired, but then somebody else had the courage just to say, "I like your Labubus." Something as simple that made my day, and while, again, I'm not doing this to be performative for others, but and you mentioned this earlier, think about how much of a difference it could make in their day. And that selfless reason
Yeah.
that it being like, "Wait, I'm just being a human. I'm just being curious and living out my curiosity and where my mind takes me." Oh my gosh, wow. That answer I think took 20 minutes in and of itself, but that was
I know, actually. I know, I, like, love it, though, this is so I love that. It's also very even as I was just explaining to you my roommate story, and I thought, "Oh my gosh, you and I met even before I met them." And I think I had, like, the braces on. I think I had the screws still, like, I had, like, screws that were basically to give everyone a visual, like, these, like, literally, like, Metal Gear, like, full headgear type screws. Anyways, I met you, and you were, like, so curious and so sweet and so interested. When somebody's, like, genuinely interested, and I think that's why we became so close as friends so quickly, and, like, you I don't know if you had it at the time, but you definitely I didn't have it as much at the time, and you definitely, like, I don't know, gave that currency to me, which I like. I'm like, "Oh,
Uh,
very sweet of you."
Another thing I'm gonna
Um,
conversation is, like, you just when your mom goes, "Wait, what are you curious about?" If I'm ever stuck in a rut, I will be forever using that forevermore. If I'm like, "Ugh, I'm gonna ask somebody," like and it's just like, "Okay, what are you curious about that person about?" And it can be about anything. It could be their least favorite cereal. It could be what they
yeah.
have on their pizzas. It could be what was their hometown like. It could be what was your club gymnastics team like, it could be anything. You've definitely just given me an inspiration for me to carry out through my day-to-day life, let alone career, to be like, "Wait, what am I curious about it?" Because if I'm curious about it, I'm not saying everybody is gonna be, but I'm sure there's people like me who might have never thought to ask that question or could be curious about it too, or that classic, like, build it and they will come.
Yeah.
Well, ask it and someone is gonna be interested in it. Like, somewhere, somehow, someone will be interested in it.
Well, and those are the types of questions for you, like, in your job, like, that are probably gonna hit and feel more authentic because they came way authentic. So, it really wasn't me that gave you that, it was my mom, per
Uh,
usual. Shout out mom. Because, like, I even know in my speech writing process, when I start to hit a rut because I'm thinking about what other people will like, I'm like, "Well, what do other people, like, really need or what other people" and I think about, "Well, man, when I was in the hardest part of my life, what are some questions that I asked of the world, of God, of everything, and what did I actually do to help to help my life? What actually helped my life? Not what I think sounds good to tell other people to give them a formula or give them something that is, like, good, but, like, what genuinely and how do I find words to articulate that? Or, like, I was driving with my dad this last weekend, and we had, it took us, like, 9 hours to drive from Raleigh to Atlanta. I was sitting there thinking about, like, this is such an opportunity to ask my dad questions and be curious about him. Like, I see him a lot, but I'm like, what an opportunity for us to be in the car, no distractions. Like, road trips are my favorite because it's like, when you go forward, like, those are the kinds of moments of uninterrupted long times that you are going to wish you had and could have held on to. How do you apply in the moment that mindset so that you can capture it as best as possible and be like, "What do I wanna know about my dad or my mom or my sister or my
you're
brother?"
blowing my mind right now because my dad and I have been watching Landman together. And my mom and I have shows that we watch together. It's more of our reality trash, Bachelor, Love Island, you name it. My dad and I are kind of more in, Game of Thrones and that stuff. The other day, my dad hasn't opened up maybe so much about some things in his life. And I've seen this stuff before of like, while your grandmother is still alive, ask her about her life and write those things down, like, so it's not forgotten. And I'm like, oh my God, my parents were not just placed on the earth when I was birthed. They
Yeah.
had their 20s just like I'm living right now. They had their high school, middle school, they had all those days. I wanna know what their life is like. Even then, I don't know
Yeah.
who they are as, like, parents fully. Like, man, if you wanna start exercising your curiosity, if you have the ability, ask your family. Getting it there's so much about Oakley's day to day, like, that I didn't go to school with him. I wasn't in his everyday classes. I'm not
Yeah.
junior in college right now. There is so much happening in his 24 hours a day, times 7 days a week, times weeks in a year that, like, I don't know about. So, shoot, for anyone listening, start your curiosity off with people that you can trust and go, "Great, tell me about yourself." Like, "Dad, what was home like?
Yeah.
Did you have dogs growing up?" I wanna talk about dogs all the time. So, like, "Oh my gosh, my mom, I think they owned a cat at one point. We don't own a cat. What was it like to own a cat?" Like,
Yeah.
oh my god, that's so funny that you mentioned that about your dad because I
That's
literally
so
just had
wild.
24 hours ago.
That's so wild, really?
Yep.
I mean, that's so also, like, I love that you say that again, like, if not with family, just people that you trust. But your day-to-day life has totally changed within the last year.
Yeah.
And so, remembering that it's like, even if we think we know our family or whoever's close to us, like, what their day looks like, it's probably changed. Like, my dad and I had this really rich conversation about what he's really doing day to day right now, because I didn't I didn't fully know. Or, like, actually, you'll love this. Something that I think about very often, and I don't even think that he knows this, but Michael, my twin brother, we when we were in school together, it's really fun having a twin in school because, like, you know the same people, you can just talk about things because you kinda know the environment, and I would get home from school before he would because he had cross country practice, and I remember there was a few days where I was at home watching the dogs, and we had, like, a 15-minute walk from school to our house, and he would be on his walk home from school, like, knowing that I'm gonna be home, and he would pick up the phone and call me and be like, "How was your day today? What did you do?" I was like, "I'm gonna see you in a couple minutes," or, like, we would see each other every day, or I saw him a few periods in school before, and anytime he saw me, it was like, "Oh, how was your day? Like, what did you do today?" I'm like, "No," like, "That's so cool that you're so genuinely curious," and, like, I try to emulate people or, like, experiences like that 'cause, like, "Oh, I hope somebody feels that way when I ask them," or, "I hope somebody feels seen like that by me, and how do I do that a little better so that they do?" And so for you to talk about, like, even watching the show with your dad and taking that time to think about, like, they had this whole life that it would be so cool to, like, really know more about and understand because think about your whole life, like, right up to this point, and if somebody were to meet you at X time, there's, like, an abundance of things that you would be able to share and explain and nuances and all of those things.
There are so many boxes up in this attic that, like, I've forgotten about. But shoot, if someone were to come in with their curiosity and be like, "Wait, what was it like in elementary school when you were in 3rd grade?" I'd be like, "Well, dang, okay, I haven't thought about 3rd grade in a lot of years. Let me go back. Let me describe, like, there's so much more." I am a fraction of my parents' life.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm half of it now, but there's a whole half of life, 20, 30 something years where I did not exist to even have a clue of who they were at the time.
Mhm.
Think about all the stories that are there. And mind you, that's just my 2 wonderful parents. Let's think about the billions of other people that are in the world. There's that word. It's something, I think it's sonder, and it might be like the realization that the person you see at the gas station has a full-blown life and life story and their own
Oh,
thoughts.
I know yeah,
And it's the
yeah.
realization of that of, "My god, you you didn't just get plopped on the earth whenever I first met you when we were at that winery place with Michael O'Connor
Yeah.
and Brendan wearing the Shrek hats, and that was you weren't just plopped on the earth in that moment. No, 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 no. You literally you came out of a womb and, like, you did the whole first steps and the first words and elementary school and club stop, like, that's where I have to go, "Oh my yeah, I think I'm the main character in my story because hello, like, this is the body and everything that I'm living in." But I'm like, "You're the main character in yours." Like, I'm just there. I could be a background, extra in somebody that works at La La Land coffee shop that I wanna go to
Yeah.
later today, like, oh my god, it's just so trippy. Again, to take those steps back and go, like, right now, I'm literally trying to picture I'm seeing you through the screen right now, but, like, you
Mhm.
don't just like, you are also sitting in a chair in a
Yes,
whole
I'm in
different
my
state away.
office.
Like, you're real human. It's sorry, now we're getting really like,
No, we're
Mr. Morgan would be so proud of me and my Socratic thinking, if you will, but
he'd be very proud of you. I also think what's cool about you and what I think is something that I've been journaling about is we learn these things and you're like, "Oh my gosh," the realization that people have lives outside. But then sometimes there's a disconnect in what we learn and then how fast or how immediately we can apply it to actual situations when it's mundane. So you and I are sitting with our microphones and we're like, "Oh my gosh," like talking about conversations and seeing people in this way and all these things. But then when you're rushing through the grocery store and you've had a million things to do today and whatever, like being able to ask yourself Like, how do I apply that in this moment, even
Yep.
though it's a little bit harder? Or how do I apply these lessons in the mundane parts? I think we're always like learning and relearning. I guess that's just even when I think about my own I've been asked, like, do I have to take my own advice from my own speech? And the answer is, like, always yes. Like, I'm always trying to ask myself, like, am I taking my own advice? Because I can't just let something be an epiphany that I had at 21 and then I don't apply to my daily life because I think I learned it, I checked the box, and now I'm like,
I'm set.
"I've
I'm
learned
good.
it, it's applied." Like, you're gonna have to apply it. Like, what the actual challenge of being able to separate yourself as somebody to be able to say, "I'm a curious person," or "I'm a interested person in other people," is when it is consistent and
Yeah. It's
small.
not always scrolling on social media and going, "Oh, my For You page on TikTok, it proves that I'm curious because I keep swiping and seeing different things." Absolutely, I'd love to go do more things in person. I find myself because I moved out to, halfway across the country and I live in an area where I don't really know anybody. There's times where I feel shameful that I don't have enough in-person friends here. And I feel guilty and I feel kind of pathetic. I'm like, wow, friends came so easily to me in all the places I've been in my life. Why is it so struggling here, in a nice big city? And it's almost like, reframe that. Maybe this point in my life is supposed to be a little bit more to myself. Maybe it's not all about this crazy human interaction, whether in person or electronically, but it is me time. It, I, I don't, that's where I think the reframing will come into mind. If you are thinking about something negatively, what are the positives that you can pull? If there ain't no positives, and I find it hard to believe that there couldn't be a single positive in something in our day to day routines that we're struggling with or whatever, I'm going on a rant, don't really have an endpoint, but yeah.
That is that, but
So
no, thank you. I and I appreciate you sharing that too. I think that's very real of the idea that, like, sometimes I don't know, over the last 3 years of being at home too, I could so relate to feeling like there's times where I'm like, "I'm not doing this right." Like, I am when I was doing the grad school and, like, taking the year to, like, really basically as I really resonate with, like, when I went viral on social media, whatever. Go viral on social media, and I was like, "I can either capitalize on this and, like, post and share," and I felt this, like, weird urgency. So, like, now I have to share it. Like, people are asking, people wanna know. And then, like, life events happened, and I was like, "Once I get on that hamster wheel, I am not gonna be able to get off." Like, once I tie it to work and money and urgency, then that like, it can't be like that. So, I just kinda went cold from it and was so glad that I did, and yet you feel like, "Oh, but am I off the like, am I spending too much time by myself? Am I" oh, but then, like, kind of revisiting, it's like that balance of being able to just kind of revisit, like, "Okay, what times in your life are gonna be with people and socialized and with friends?" And I, like, am now I'm in a run club, and I, like, have friends, and I go out with them, but then for a year when I was building school and doing other things, it was way less interactive with other people, and so, like, you're gonna have waves, and so I don't know, that I can relate to that. I think a lot of people can of like, not every point in your life is gonna be super duper social, but not every point in your life has to be head down grind because then you're also gonna miss it. So,
what hamster do you know? I never owned hamsters, so somebody can correct me if I'm wrong here. What hamster do you know is constantly on the hamster wheel and never steps off of it? Never steps off to use a bathroom, go get
I
some
mean, I know
water.
that it can be, like, really bad for the hamster, like
I'm
now we're in a
sure.
totally different world though.
No,
Like,
but
it
but
can be,
like
like,
I
really bad
I
for
guess
them.
metaphorically trying to relate that back to you being like, shoot, like, okay, now I've got to get on the hamster wheel. It's like, okay, you got on it and you took a little break. Or anybody at any point for however long, I don't think however is a word, but I've been using that recently. Let's say however, can take a step off of the hamster wheel, get right back on it. Like
Mhm.
I I wouldn't want to I wish that pressure wasn't on your younger self when that happened. Cause man, girl, did you capitalize on it in the best way possible? And the way that you chose to capitalize on it is perfect. Because everything is always happening perfectly. If you would have chosen to maybe take a few nod and whatever, like you made all the right decisions to get where you are right now.
You're so sweet. I feel like this is now reversed to you asking me questions, or now I'm talking about myself when we're supposed to be talking about you, um, and your thoughts and your questions. Um, Very sweet of you to say. But yeah, I don't know how this maybe I don't know how this switched back to me, but, um,
I don't e
I guess we are hitting a far mark, so I guess I would love to kind of, this is funny, I was just meeting with my mentor, my CMPC mentor, and he was giving me feedback on my presentations and my individual sessions, and he was like, "You can tell you're from the Midwest because all of your wrap-ups are Midwest goodbyes, and you ask 3 follow-up questions when you try to wrap up." So, I'm gonna try to avoid a Midwest goodbye of a wrap-up and just ask you, I guess, like, we've had such a interesting conversation. I love having you. I love talking to you just in general, so it's so cool. I'm excited to listen to this back, and obviously, this went in so many different directions, but even that is just something that I think is really cool, and I love it. Not everything has, like, a not every podcast has to be a mic drop, like, snaps, purpose, like, sometimes it's not. There are definitely moments in here that I'm like, "Oh, I'll take that away," and definitely some that are not like, that's so good."
Yeah.
So, um, I just really love that we got to do this together, and is there anything else that you want to say or ask or thoughts or, just as we wrap up our time together?
Oh, um, a closing statement of just thank you. Thank you for I'm gonna be, like, very deep with this. Thank you for being a softball player that struggled, that worked through it, that spoke at a graduation for school that was hard. Thank you for being a twin to somebody I consider a brother, so maybe we're all triplets, okay? Um, thank
Yes.
thank you for creating a podcast and having conversations with people, including myself. And thank you for being the coolest daughter and genuinely one of the brightest people I've ever met in my life. And that's my closing statement.
Said.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so happy that you were on. Thank you so much. Thank you for being such a light and such a loving, wonderful person. I'm so touched. I don't have a good wrap up because I'm so touched, but I love you very much, my sister. And thank you so much for shining so bright and being such a wonderful person beyond all of the labels that you wear that are so wonderful, and you will continue to do amazing things in your life. And I love being friends that I can watch it up close. But thank you for who you are. And thank you all for listening to Life Beyond Labels. We will see you next time, and we hope that you enjoyed this episode.